Welcome back to another edition of the Knight Report podcast. I'm your host, Mike Broadbent. Joining me once again is my co-host, Richie O'Leary. Rutgers has its second commitment of the class of 2025 for hoops, this time in Lino Mark. He is listed at 6'2", 167 pounds, out of Notre Dame High School in Sherman Oaks, California. I think is he at Sierra Canyon now? Is that just not updated?
No, that's the other guy. We'll touch on him too, though.
But we'll touch on him, some exciting additional updates on some big-time recruits for Rutgers as well. We'll get into that and more. But first, this podcast is presented to you by Knight and Day Apparel. Get ready for football and tailgating season with Knight and Day Apparel. Our apparel is designed to keep you comfortable and stylish from the pregame excitement to the final whistle. Whether you're grilling in the parking lot or cheering from the stands, our high-quality gear has you covered with unbeatable comfort and team spirit. Use our promo code RutgersRivals to get 10% off your purchase. Score big this season and keep shopping with Knight and Day Apparel. Anything new that caught your eye recently?
No, but I will say there is a Chop Life t-shirt potentially coming down the line. It's courtesy of, kind of the Knight Report, but also shout out to Dirty RU for a very good t-shirt design that should be coming out shortly.
Love it. They're always putting out new designs, and it's exciting because it's about weekly at this point. So just to see what they have. Time. Basketball time is right.
One more ad.
Yeah, this podcast is also presented to you by BetOnline. BetOnline is the world's most trusted betting platform and your number one source for everything football. BetOnline has every stat, every matchup, and even live odds and spreads to bet on during games. Think you know your stuff? Get in on our $200,000 mega contest and pick 5 games against the spread each week for your chance at winning prizes and a share of $200,000. When the game's over, head on over to our online casino and get in on a game of blackjack or poker or unwind with one of our over 150 slot games. Head to the website today and get in on the action. BetOnline, the game starts here.
Real quick before we talk hoops.
Sure.
You throwing a bet on Rutgers this week? What do you think of that little odd right there? It's a weird odd.
Yeah, so I have made 2 bets on Rutgers this week. One is the money line. I think I got that at like plus 220. So
sure.
I think it's dropped a bit from that. I also did an alternate line. So I got Rutgers plus 7.5, parlayed with Rutgers team total over 16.5. So basically, I think Rutgers is going to score, more likely than not win. But I don't think it's going to be a huge blowout. I think it's at most going to be a touchdown game. So those are the 2 bets I have for this weekend.
Fair. I figure you got to ask because people are demanding your bet slips now before they win.
Well, I have an obscene amount of money on the over on the win total this year. So the 6.5. So I'm feeling pretty good about that right now. They just need to go 3-5 the rest of the season to hit that, and I don't think there's any way they don't. So
yeah, sounds good.
So let's talk about Lino Mark, the point guard commitment. He had a Final Four, I believe, of Rutgers, Seton Hall, USC, and West Virginia. He chose the Scarlet Knights tonight in a ceremony. What is your take on this commitment?
A little bit of a smaller guard. People are going to bitch and moan because that's just what they do, because that's the way that's happened since probably since the past 2 years, I guess. And he started to, Pikel and crew have started to go smaller. 6'2", 170, solid three-point shooter, very fluid, really quick release on his shot, which is obviously a good thing if it's going in. He's not afraid to attack the rim, has a pretty unique, I shouldn't say unique, he has a very crafty finishing ability. Not afraid to go up against contact. Obviously, most of these guys that are going to draw that contact are going to be a lot bigger than him, which is fine, but he's able to finish them. Like I said before, really good three-point shooter. Plays for a very talented EYBL team in the Oakland Soldiers, which features AJ DeBansta, who we've talked about in the past, number 1 recruit in 2026, 2025, I forget. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Average 32% three-point percentage, very up-tempo guard, kind of like the complete opposite of Jermichael Davis. He's just similar in the style of tempo of play, just fast, quick, get the ball out, but complete opposite, as if Jermichael Davis was very defensive-oriented, whereas this guy's very offensive-oriented. Averaged nearly 17 points per game I just had? 16 points per game this year, or last season, for a very talented Notre Dame high school team out in California, a top 5 team in the state per Max Preps. Averaged actually 16, 4 assists, 5 rebounds, 2 steals. So, I mean, he is solid defensively still, but just not as tenacious as Jamichael was out of high school, but a really good prospect nonetheless. Former 150 kid. I know after talking to some guys, he did drop out this past ranking, but after talking to the rankings guys, they said he's like right there. It's so hard to rank him because he's somewhere between that 160 to 150 range. So he is right on the cusp, but I think this is actually a really solid get given going into these official visits. It sounded like he was kind of leaning towards West Virginia or Seton Hall, but Rutgers was able to sway him on their visit and seal the deal.
So it sounded like it was a final two of Rutgers and USC. What pushed Rutgers over the edge for Lino? What were some of the things he said about why he chose Rutgers?
Let me pull this quote real quick. What did he tell me? For me, it just made the most sense. I sat with my family for hours going over the pros and cons for each school, and it just all added up to Rutgers. I know after talking to him a little bit on the side prior to his visit, he really wanted a school to just kind of fit his game, a school that's kind of going to let him play the way he wants to. And that's essentially what Peichel does with these guys on offense. He kind of lets them do what they want. Was that a good thing? Is it a bad thing? Double-edged sword there. But yeah, no, it was just going on that visit. He said the love, the hospitality, the family atmosphere. I know his mom really fell in love with the visit. The coaching staff just made her feel really at home, made it seem like it, as far away as California is, made it seem like she can basically go whenever she wants. And she obviously more than welcome to. Other than that, he really felt everything on the campus was amazing. He liked the team. He thinks that the future is very bright, and just overall, like I said before, it's all about fit for him. That's the reason he was considering. He actually had a top 8 previously, and the top 8 featured a couple mid-major schools. And he really just wants to find a school that fits him. And there's a reason those mid-majors were there, because they were selling him on being, hey, you could be this guy. You could be that guy for us. He said a lot of the high majors weren't really selling him on that to begin. They're like, hey, you could be the guy, but you're going to play a lot early on, but you're not going to be the guy from day one. Whereas Rutgers is kind of like, we're going to let you kind of feel it out, see how you do, and let you do your own thing. If you have the skills, obviously you'll play pretty early. But yeah, that was really just mostly the visit just kind of sold him getting away from home. And he seemed like he was kind of going to get away from home regardless. I know USC was in that top 2 as well, or top 4, whatever it was. That was just more of the hometown school just being there, it sounds like. But for the most part, it sounded like Seton Hall and West Virginia were up there, and then the visits swayed in Rutgers' favor.
He was on campus for an off week for football, right? They were
midweek,
okay.
Wednesday to Thursday. He took like 7 official visits, like back to back. Let me see if I can pull it up real quick. Yeah, Loyola Marymount, like I said, the mid-majors really did a good job of selling them. On August 30th, September 6th, USC, September 9th, went out to Seton Hall, went back home, decided to go back to Jersey on September 18th, left New Jersey, went straight to West Virginia, September 20th, September 27th, Utah, and then TCU was supposed to be this weekend, but that obviously did not pan out. I don't think he made the Utah one. I take it back.
So a guy with a ton of interest from the high major level, so a pretty good pickup there, but might be a bit of a developmental guy. I think that's fair to say.
Mm-hmm.
But there's very few guys who are not developmental guys coming out of the high school ranks into college, which Schiano has shown a propensity to do a great job developing. Did I say Schiano or said Peichel?
Yeah, it's
okay. Sorry about that.
It's Peichel.
Peichel has done a great job of developing. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Anything else about Lino before we talk about some other prospects that have recruiting updates?
So this is where we're really good at our jobs, and this is how we segue. His teammate, Chris Nawoli, for the Oakland Soldiers AAU EYBL program, is also a top Rutgers target. He just was on campus this past weekend for an official visit, came to actually got the offer from Rutgers back on, 24th, 23rd, something like that. Immediately scheduled an official visit to Rutgers despite having a top 6 list of schools already, and got to campus ASAP. Loved everything about the visit. There's a good chance they probably land him at the moment. I'm not ready to put a future cast in yet. I want to confirm some other things and talk to some other people, but he's emerged as that top forward target. This class has went basically from maybe a 2-3-man class to potentially a 3 to 4-man class, because you can't forget about Kelvin Odie, who is, I know he's listed as a shooting guard. And people are asking me, well, he's a 6'5". Is he more of a point guard? Like, no, he's a wing, actually, to be honest with you. He's got a 6'10" wingspan. So they have a big man in Javonte Ware who calls himself a point forward, but he's 6'10", 240. He's a center. Lino Mark, 6'10", 170 is your point guard. Kelvin Odie would be your wing at 6'5". I think he's like 190, something like that. And then Chris Nwoli would be your four-man, and there you go. You got a four-man class. And I know all these guys want to sign during the early period. We know, obviously, Lino will sign. We know Javonte Ware will sign. Other two are still uncommitted, but they do want to sign during the early period, and it sounds like the other two aren't really making any other visits at this moment. Could change, of course. Could change by the time you're listening to this. But I think Rutgers has a great shot of landing Chris Nwoli, his teammate over at the Oakland Soldiers, who, by the way, they took the Oakland Soldiers all the way to the Peach Jam final this past July. So very talented. He's used to playing with talented players, very talented prospects in general. I think this class actually went from meh to what the hell's going on? We don't have a commitment to, oh, okay, you know what? Borderline top 150 kid. Chris Nwoli, if they land, is a top 120 kid. Javonte Ware is solid. And if you get Kelvin Odie, that's a top 80 kid. So if you land those two on top of these two, damn good class for Steve Peichel. Maybe not the follow-up people wanted because they want the 5-star, but still a pretty good class.
Yeah, and to be honest, I think our expectations were kind of shot through the roof due to how well we recruited last cycle. But we were in it for a lot of top guys. It's just they chose established blue blood programs. It's not a slight on the staff. You know, they were involved with a lot of guys in the top 25 of this class. It didn't work out. Yeah. But it sounds like the momentum has continued because Rutgers is involved with a lot of top kids in the class of 2026 as well. Correct. It sounds like there was a kid who had a very good time on a visit this past weekend at the Rutgers-Washington football game. Tell us a little bit about Darius Bivens, who's a class of 2026 player at a T.C. Williams High School in Alexandria, Virginia, 90th ranked kid in the country.
T.C. Williams is the school from Remember the Titans?
I think so, yep.
Yeah. And
I also think that's the school for Longerbeam.
Yes, correct. Yep. Came up to campus, another smaller guard. People are going to complain. I know you don't like smaller guards, but that's just the way of basketball in today's day and age. Every other conference has smaller guards. I know the Big Ten doesn't for the most part, but it's going to eventually have to shift, I would think. I would hope. But regardless, came up to campus, told me he came really close to committing. That's how much of a family feel. He loved everything about it. Of course, the Friday Night Lights atmosphere of Rutgers football obviously helps things. And just kind of showing off the team and showing off the program, showing off the facilities. Like it wasn't just them just going to the basketball game or to the football game, but they also got to check out everything else, got to experience kind of tailgating of sorts because the whole basketball team goes to that little tent where, Athletes Glen over there, and they're shooting hoops, they're playing football, they're just hanging around. So you get the whole experience for if you're a recruit for basketball and you want an unofficial visit, like you go for a football game basically, just because you get so much more. But yeah, really liked the visit, liked it a lot. We'll be back on campus for multiple games. He told me this fall/winter, and then is already in the works of planning an official visit for next summer. I would not be shocked. I know he hasn't taken many visits yet, so that's the issue. But I think Rutgers is in the driver's seat right here. I mean, when a kid tells you that they're close to almost committing, I mean, hard to argue otherwise. But very talented kid, number 90 in the country for 2026, would be a hell of a start for 2026 class. And yeah, I mean, that's really it. He's got some really good offers too: Arizona State, Virginia, Iowa, Providence, Stanford, Vandy. Smart kid too, obviously. West Virginia, some interest from Illinois. I think he's just going to continue to add offers the more and more he plays, especially this is only his junior season coming up, so he's got time.
Yep, a lot of time to explode that offer list out and get more interest. Bit of a shorter pod because we have the one from earlier today released, so there's not really anything else to cover. Anything we didn't hit on that you wanted to touch on basketball recruiting wise before we head out?
Two things. Number one, they also hosted a bunch of different recruits on campus. Darren Rippey Jr., top 26 kid in the 2026 class, was on campus again. Good sign there. It's still going to be a tough haul, in my opinion. NIL is going to play a factor. Big name blue bloods are going to go after him. They also offered a 27 kid from Rutgers Prep and Andrew Kratowski. I'm pronouncing that one wrong. But very talented kid, 6'7" forward. And then last but not least, as of right now, they're still expected to host Caden Powers this weekend for an official visit. The kid from Rainier Beach, Washington. I believe, if I recall correctly, and I believe it's Brandon Roy's AAU program he plays for, or his high school, one of the two. But he'll be on an official visit this weekend. It's probably going to come down to Caden Powers or Kelvin Odie. Would they take both? I don't think so, but obviously they would prefer Odie. But you never know. I mean, maybe Peichel just goes all in on high school recruiting, and that's probably a good thing. Cheaper that way, for sure. And on top of that, he's proven he can develop guys. I think this is going to be the way of the program going forward. Maybe you'll sprinkle in a class here or there where you'll land a highly ranked 4-star. I think 5 stars are going to be very, very tough without connections. Obviously, Ace and Dylan had connections. Maybe you find some connections down the line. I don't think there's any more Harpers, so it'd be great if there was. I know there's not actually, but
there's not any more men's basketball player Harpers. Yeah, I think he has a younger sister, but yeah.
So, maybe Coquise Washington will get lucky down the line. Who knows? But yeah, keep an eye out on Caden Powers this weekend. So another official visit. But that's
love to hear it. Well, thanks again for the insight, Rich, and big commitment today. Thanks once again to everybody for listening. This has been another edition of the Knight Report podcast. Signing off.